No.
This automated train is provided for
I
the
don't remember if I was supposed to count you in, Tony.
of the Black Mesa Reserve
It's
Facility
fine.
personnel.
It's fine.
This is fine. Oh, it's Barney! What the Barney doing?
What the? It's what, the dinosaur?
No, Barney the
Yeah,
security guard.
Cojones.
That's actually, but I refer to every security guard in this game as Barney, but that was actually Barney Calhoun.
What?
Or as I like to call him, Barney Calzone. He's Italian.
Okay. Wait,
Yeah.
what's his surname?
Barney Calhoun.
Calhoun. Okay.
Yes, that is Barney.
Not cojones.
So this is okay, Tony. I've played Black Mesa twice. You know I'm a
Right.
huge Half-Life fan. I've played
Yeah.
Black Mesa twice because I played it originally when it came out in like 2011, 2012, when the Zen wasn't in the game. And then I played it like 2 years ago when they like fully released it out of early access with Zen. And I was like, oh, finally, it's ready to be played
Did you do a
now.
video on it?
I think so, yeah. I think
Yeah,
I played it and I
so.
talked about it and I was like, oh, Black Mesa's really good. But also,
Yeah.
the Zen is like really weird because I've played Zen now and I'm like, yeah, the Zen is so short and there's like nothing there. And then Black Mesa just makes its own sort of Zen. And it's way longer than actual Zen. So what I was saying was I've played Black Mesa twice, but I've never played the original Half-Life or its expansions. So for the longest time I was like, I want to play the original Half-Life on the Gold Source engine just to be like, see what it's like. And I gotta say, it is
It's
not.
it's an old game though, right?
Yeah,
Before we...
1999 or 1998.
Yeah. So just before we say anything positive or negative about it, it's a very old game.
It's over 20 years old, and I just gotta
Yeah.
say, it has not aged well.
Okay.
In terms of like nostalgia goggles off, like
Yeah.
if you were like, man, I want to get into Half-Life, I would say play Black Mesa or just go
Yeah.
straight to Half-Life 2 and then come back. Is how
Yeah.
I would say it, and that's coming from like a diehard Half-Life fan.
I kind of had that take after watching Freeman's Mind anyway, to
Yeah.
be honest with you. Like I was only able to keep going because of the great narration.
Don't get me
or
wrong, there's
storytelling.
there's great parts of Half-Life. Like
Yeah.
I think anytime you're like fighting outside or the military and stuff like that, that sort of stuff's great. There is great sections to Half-Life 1, but there's sections like there's Office Complex, a great section.
Yeah.
Off the top of my head, we got Hostiles, but then you have sections like Honor Rail that just goes on fucking forever. You have sections like the Zen, which is like, it's super short, but it fucking sucks because they introduced this long jump module thing that you get, and it's impossible to use.
Yeah, it looked really finicky.
It's super
I like
finicky, and it's required for Zen. I'm so glad in the Gearbox
pressing W.
expansions, they just completely forget about it and they don't use it at all.
Thanks, Randy.
Thanks, Randy Pitchford.
I'm sure that's Randy Pitchford.
Randy
he wanted to
Pitchford
do
is
that.
credited in both the Half-Life expansions. He worked on both of them, so that's the
Yeah.
sort of quality you'll get to see from these games. You'll love to see
Wasn't
it.
there also a box full of gears in one of them or something?
There's a box full of gears and there's like a valve. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a bit of a reference to the popular video games studio funded by pornographic actor Randy Pitchford.
Yeah. He does films, doesn't he? That Randy Pitchford guy.
Yeah, he's making a Borderlands film, and he just wants to talk about it for an hour instead of doing anything at E3.
Yeah.
Oh, before I talk about Half-Life, I should talk about the dumb thing I did immediately, which was what the G-Man doing? That's HD G-Man. That's HD G-Man. So I should mention,
Yeah.
there's an optional with the Gearbox ports of Half-Life. They added HD models for like the scientists and the security guards, which I'm playing with, and I'll turn it off in a minute for the recording just to show you the difference. This is the original Gold Source version because they did make a source port of Half-Life 1, but it is awful. And also,
Oh, really?
yeah, and also the
How'd they fuck it up?
just the physics just does not work. It does not translate well into the source engine.
Right.
But also the ports are in the Gold Source engine, so I'd have to go back to it anyway. So I was like, okay, I'll just play it. So this is like
Right,
HD. Hey, Mr. Freeman, that's HD Barney there. Then I was like, oh, I'll show you the non-HD Barney. That'll be really quick. But then I forgot, if you change an option in Gold Source, it exits the game. So this is a new recording that should be coming up now, which will show you what the non-HD videos are like. That's an annoying
my
like
God.
quality of life feature where changing options closes the game. You have to completely restart the game if you change any option. So there's that.
That's kind of a 2000s thing that you're wanting there, Jay.
Yeah.
It's a different millennia. You have to understand. Yeah, I'm gonna say now. I think the optional
You like them because
models.
it's like it's contentious between the community. Some people, because I do think there is like the security guards I couldn't give less a shit about. Like I don't think the HD
Yeah,
ones look particularly great, but I think they look fine.
them.
But
Yeah,
like I
okay.
think there is a charm to the old scientist models. I do quite like the old scientist models, as you can see here.
Uh,
Especially like the Kleiner model. I think it's great. Anyway.
yeah, but
I
I
pressed the
don't know. I feel
DHL
like
button. I did the old prank. I pressed the alarm button. Oh, so I
I
made sure
just
I made sure to press the button. I also made sure to blow up the microwave food. Those, if you go to
right.
Black Mesa, you have to do those things. It's just
I
what
say
the G-Man doing? Go on.
I just quite. I quite like the new scientist models as well, though. Like I still think they have a similar charm to the
Mm.
OG. But
But you
I
also
don't
have
know.
to understand that Randy Pitchford made them.
Yeah,
Okay, there it
I'm
is.
a big Randy Pitchford fan, so I
Mm.
think we can get behind that.
But yeah, anyway,
Yeah, I don't
so
know. It's a very old game, and I think it's had quite a lot though, right? Like it did quite a
mm.
lot of new things.
It broke ground.
Yeah.
It's the Doom of FPS games. That's a joke
What?
because Doom is the Doom of
Hang
Doom.
on.
Yeah, but literally there was like if you go back and you look at every other game that's coming out, like in context, Half-Life 1 is a groundbreaking,
Yeah.
amazing game.
Yeah, for sure.
If you're gonna play Half-Life, the original Half-Life 1 now, 20 years later, you're definitely better served playing Black Mesa, I think, just because of the quirks that you're gonna have to put up with. I don't mind because I'm a big fan, and I didn't mind going through some of the quirks of the original game. But if you're just like someone who's never played the original game, I would say it's definitely a better idea to play through that. I mean, because there is big pain points, in my opinion, where
What are you
I
doing the microwave? Oh my god.
blowing up this guy's lunch.
What the hell?
That gets referenced in Half-Life 2, Episode 2. That
What?
scene. Oh, another thing to point out. Freeman has a book by Mark Laidlaw, one of the lead writers of Valve and Half-Life.
Right.
Laidlaw's on the lockers. There's Kuma as well. If you know Greg Kuma, he was big in the PR push for the Steam Deck. He's been working at Valve fucking forever. His name's on the locker room for the original Half-Life.
So he's still there.
Because that's like
20 years later.
that's a detail you notice when you go back. You go, oh, these are all the names of the developers I know.
Yeah.
But because like, so I would say like with the pain points of Half-Life 1, I feel like it could be much worse for someone who's not me if you played this first. Because I'm someone who's played Black Mesa twice. Good Kuma. It wasn't Dave Casale. He did Dave Casale, I think he designed one of the multiplayer levels
Oh,
for
okay.
like, because there was a competition on Map Labs for him as well. Anyway, I'm just tangerining. What was I saying?
In fact, you played Black Mesa first before.
Yeah, okay. So
What have you started here?
I played Black Mesa twice. So me playing through Half-Life 1, I had like a fairly rough idea of what I was supposed to do on
Yeah.
jamming to the tunes. The credit scene, the credit music to Half-Life 1 is an absolute banger. It doesn't have an official name. I think it's just called the credit song, and it's an absolute
Right.
banger.
It needs
But
a
yeah,
name.
it could have been much worse, but because I'd already like gone through the pain of it in Black Mesa, I think it twice. I think it was a lot better for me because I was like, okay, I know I need to do this to kill this creature.
You
I
got
know
a
I need
vague
to do this.
understanding.
Like, it's like I have um like I have deja vu, or it's like
Yeah.
I understand how to play a game I've never played before. But that just goes to show you how like faithful Black Mesa is in a lot of ways. Hello, Gordon Freeman.
Yeah.
Um,
I
oh,
do love the voices actors.
one thing to point out as well. Do you
Oh,
remember
yeah.
that there's no subtitles for the original Half-Life game?
Oh my god,
And
yes. Oh
someone
no,
made a
I know what you're
mod
saying.
for it, and then it got
Yeah.
like taken down. I don't
Yeah.
remember what happened with that, but I'm like, just
It's so
like
dumb.
subtitles weren't a thing that had to be in games back then.
Yeah.
It's just like,
It's just like a basic accessibility, and
yeah,
it's so useful. Also, because okay, I have so okay, I'm anti. Okay, you can do whatever you like with whatever you watch and play, right?
yeah.
But for me personally, like I'm very anti subtitles when it comes to like Netflix or films.
I watch Netflix with subtitles on all the time
Yeah,
now.
that's fine.
I
My
started the
sister does
habit
the
with
same.
Star Trek.
Right, right.
Yeah.
But in games, like I feel like sometimes like I just like you can't always tell if because it is a lot more complicated. Like what when like audio cues are activated, so sometimes it just doesn't work properly, or like
Well, I've seen
the
people say
other things
like,
destroy it.
what's his name? Like Christopher Nolan. He famously has really fucking loud action scene and really quiet dialogue.
Yes, that's fair.
So you need to turn subtitles on for some of his
Yeah,
films and stuff like
yeah,
that.
yeah. That is absolutely fair. I tend to not watch films like that, to be honest with you.
Right.
But yeah, but it's kind of a similar thing with like almost by accident with games though, right? Whereas like you
Yeah.
can't tell if a foreground Foley effect is going to play over the top of a very good and essential dialogue. So you kind of need to like have it on. So yeah, it's kind of a shame that it's like. I assume you would you have modded it if that mod was still around?
Yeah, I would like to have subtitles on. I mean, I don't. I
Yeah.
think I was starting to explain this, but I forgot. Literally, as soon as I installed this, I installed. Someone modded the original Gold Source Half-Life I'm playing on from 1998 to have full hand-tracked VR in it. Oh,
Oh
I
my
don't
god,
have
yeah.
footage of it. No, I forgot to record some because I played it and I forgot to record it. But I had it running and it is good. I'll see if I can find some footage of it to show you what it's like. But I had it running. Um.
So it does work,
It works. I played it. You gotta believe me.
right? I believe you.
Thank you.
I know it exists. I know it works. Oh.
Half-Life Al.
Is
I'm
it
gonna
weird
play a
to have
random.
nostalgia of this, right?
Yeah.
But not from me playing it, but from watching Freeman's Mind.
Where?
Is that weird?
No, because you have nostalgia for that video.
Yeah, yeah. Like it's a very good series. I would recommend it. And I had to. Oh god, that's a tangerine. I had to watch it. I had to start watching it again like 3 times. Like by the time the next episode came out, I'm like, wait, what happened? Because it took so long to make that series.
1998 half.
But yeah, you can have like full hand tracked VR
Yeah, yeah.
in in uh in the
Wait, is
original
it?
Half-Life.
It's in the original like engine as well, right? You
Yeah,
said
it's running like in
that's
Gold
insane.
Source.
How?
So one thing it does is there's a optional AI upscale because if obviously when you're going into VR, you're going to see everything really close up.
Yeah,
So one of the faithful things it does is it like 4 times AI upscales all the textures, so they look a little less
that's
blurry when you're
useful.
up
Yeah,
close to them, which is quite
yeah,
useful.
yep.
Um, because the version I'm running of on the Gold, I think it's running through OpenGL, and I think they've got it running. The audio is running through MP3. Like they've got it running through that. Like there's different options you can have. I'm not like 100% sure on like the technicals of how the VR version works, but from what I understand is it's dark magic. That is how I understand it.
Right.
But
I love how things go from 0 to 11 almost immediately with Gordon Freeman.
he comes to work, he does his job, everything goes to shit.
Yeah. Now I'm just gonna do this. Oh no!
I guess you could say it was a red letter day. Prepare for unforeseen consequences.
Yeah.
But yeah,
It's just
that
not that
that
funny.
was like a interesting experience. But I got it. That mod's in beta. It was like
Yeah.
updated like in 2019, and it's in beta. So I got to say, when I say like playing Half-Life 1 can kind of be like hell because of how dated it is. Trying to play it in VR in a VR beta was like I played the training mode and I was like, okay, I'm not gonna play the whole game like this because this is just not a good experience. But it is interesting. It's like it was an interesting experience. Um, but yeah, because like as soon as you launch the mod, he doesn't know what controls you're using, so you have to rely on third party bindings through the Steam VR thing. You have to like bind
Right, yeah.
individual keys to what they do.
Right, yeah.
Oh, Office Complex, a great chapter. I think this is one of my favorite chapters of the original Half-Life. I think it's like such a solid chapter.
Yeah. This is the one
Um,
I have like I guess nostalgia for
mm.
from I guess Freeman's Mind. Again, I've never played this.
Because there is playing through in VR. There is like there's so much you need to do with like buttons, but you only have like 3 or 4 buttons. So I was like constantly like having to rebind stuff to different stuff to progress just through the training mode. And I was like, if
Right.
I'm playing this like fully, there's no way I'm gonna be able to do this. Because I was like, I had a button for teleportation and I had smooth locomotion to move as well. But you move really fast in VR when you play with smooth locomotion. And it's quite
Okay.
disorientating. Like, it almost feels like you want to move slower when you're playing in VR with the mod I was
Right.
using. Um, and also, so I needed to bind a button to teleport because there were certain points where I needed to make a jump. And I was like, well, I can't make this jump like in fucking VR. But then I was like, oh, I need to shoot my gun, but I also need to use the alternative fire to get through this part in training mode. But I also need to be able to use jetpacks. How do I switch weapons? I need to bind a button to switch. It just got to a point where I was like, I understand why Alex is so good because it's built from the ground up
Yeah.
for VR. Like, there's a big difference between just slapping VR on top of a game, and especially a game that was made 20 years before VR existed. So, it's an
More like
interesting
Skyrim VR.
experience, but not something I would recommend. So I decided to
Yeah.
just play it through in normal non VR. To some of my friends' dismay, who were excited to see
It's
me.
impressive it exists, but
Yeah.
you just want to play like this.
hmm Well, one thing you can do is you can play through Half-Life through Gary's Mod VR. There's like quite an extensive Gary's Mod VR mod, and you
Okay.
can play through the Half-Life 1 through that, which is quite I think, a more better experience. But the problem with that is you'll have to play it through Gary's mod, and then you'll have Half-Life 2 weapons, and instead of like the original Half-Life 1 code and stuff like that, so it'll be different, which is kind of annoying.
It's true.
I should I should start playing because I've played Black Mesa. I've played it through
Yeah.
the Half-Life 1 expansions now. Um, I've played through Sven co-op. I've played
Okay.
through which is like Half-Life 2 in co-op. But there's one that exists for Half-Life 1. So you
Oh,
can play through
really?
co-op. So I'll try playing
Okay.
that as well. Because I wanted to play Black
Yeah.
Mesa in co-op because I was like, Black Mesa in co-op would be fun. There's a couple of mods, but they're not like feature complete. But I'd love to try like the original Zen co-op and play through Half-Life 1 in co-op with one of my friends in a couple of years. Now that I've played it through by myself, I think trying to get some of my friends to play through it because it is worth playing, but not as your first Half-Life game, I would say. I think it's more so fans of the series should try and play it just to see how far we've come and the iconic
Yeah.
place from where we started. I mean, there's don't get me wrong, there's great chapters. I love like anomalous materials, unforeseen consequences, office complex. We got hostiles, but then I think Blast Pit might be my least favorite chapter in fucking Half Life. I hate Blast Pit so much. I've done it 3 times on Black Mesa twice and Half Life, and I get lost every single fucking time. It is this. There's like a giant monster in the pit, and you need to turn off a bunch of valves and stuff in order to turn on to power this machine to kill him, basically. And there's so much backtracking, and it is so confusing. And I've got lost doing it several times that I hate Blast Pit. And then Blast Pit is immediately followed by On a Rail, which is also a long and confusing section where you're on this cart. It's On a Rail is like, I would say, probably one of the most controversial sections of Half-Life, because I think they completely changed it in one of the updates to Black Mesa to a point where there's a workshop map called On a Rail remastered, where fans have re-put it back in because for some reason some fans really fucking love On a Rail, but I think
Yeah,
it's
that's
one of
just
the
confusing.
weakest parts of Half-Life, which I'm glad they
So
removed
you,
like part of it from Black
yeah,
Mesa.
you agree with removal? Okay.
Like surface tension's good, fit about Freeman's good, but then Lambda Core's good, but then you go to Zen, and I wasn't prepared for how short Zen is. So Zen, you go into the Zen, basically.
Yeah.
You have a short little fight. You're then at Gornak's lair. You then kill Gornak. You're then at Interloper. You walk around for a bit, and then you're at Nyleth, and it's the final boss of the game. It's like half an hour to an hour long. Zen is so short. It just goes bam, bam, bam. The game's done. It's like it feels like the rest of the game there was like vision there, and they're like, okay, we're gonna make it do this. It's leading up to this, and then Zen they were like, just shove it on the end. That's how Zen feels. I think it was definitely the weakest part of Half-Life One, and yeah, it shows when you play Zen, and then you see like
'Cause-
how Black Mesa improved and extended Zen and actually made it like a cool experience. And I would
Yeah, I
say like,
think is it more surprising because you played like Black Mesa
mm, yeah, I would say so. I
first?
always knew that Zen was like very much disliked and was very short.
Right, right,
But
okay.
I wasn't like um I wasn't expecting it to be that short. I just felt like the game was over.
Yeah. And the ending just kind of happens, right?
You fight a giant baby and then you kill it, and then
Yeah.
the G-Man offers you. This is spoilers for a 20-year-old game, so if I get someone saying spoilers, this is a 20-year-old game. Um,
Yeah.
the G-Man offers you a choice where he goes, you can either be, I want to hire you in order for you to come help me in another time of need, and or you can stay here and I will put you in a battle you can never win. Technically, there's a choice at the end. If you just wait in the tram cart, he sends you into an unwinnable battle and the game ends and the
Right.
credits roll, or you can go into stasis.
And the credits roll.
But yeah, um, I
Okay.
wanted to play Half Life. Definitely an experience, especially on VR. Definitely an experience with quotation marks. Um, and yeah, the main reason I wanted to play it though was because I wanted to play the expansions. So I'm going to talk about the expansions. And holy shit, do I love opposing force.
Gearbox. Oh.
No, opposing force.
Yeah,
Immediately,
yeah.
so I will show you the training mode for Blue Shift. I'm gonna do it chronologically. This is the training mode for Blue Shift. And it's an exact copy of the training mode for Half-Life 2. It is a really like boring, dull training mode. Here's how you do mechanics. Press jump to jump. Press crouch to crouch. I loaded up the training mode to do like some benchmarking, or just like test recording, just to make sure everything was okay. And I immediately was like, holy shit, the training mode for opposing force is almost like its own game, sort of thing.
All right.
But listen to this, I'm gonna turn up a little bit.
Okay, okay. Turn it up.
It's not the standard training mode, it's a boot camp. The story of opposing force is you get to the other side. You play as Adrian Shepard, one of the forces that comes in and attacks you as the military.
My goal is simple. As of right now, you are all maggots. You will not speak until spoken to. You will not sleep unless told to do so. When I ask you to jump, you will reply with, how high? Do you get me? Sir, yes, sir. What's your name, dirtbag? Sound off like you got a pair. Corporal Shepard, huh? Looks more like Corporal Dog Meat to me. Seems your name was mysteriously bumped to the top of the advanced training list. My suggestion to you is to get your ass down to the training center and report to Drill Instructor Sharp ASAP. Now move it, Corporal. Where you from, soldier? Texas? Holy cow! You know what comes from Texas, don't you?
I don't know what comes from. Is that funny?
You
I
eyeballing me,
I don't
boy?
know. No, but this is great.
You got this whole like. They could have just like done the blue shift, which Gearbox also
Yeah.
did, and just slapped on a training mode. But they added like this backstory to Agent Shepard, where they show him in training mode, and it's like Full Metal Jacket sort of, where it's just like
Yeah.
this whole like
that's what-
American army thing.
Instructions carefully, and by the end of the day, I'll have you eating danger and crapping victory. Directly, and I guarantee it will
You get like this
save your life.
bulletproof armor, and he's like, "Put on this PCV armor."
PCV and get it
I love this part.
that your military has provided you with will keep you alive. Step onto the mark, and this will be demonstrated for you. As you can see, you are not dead. Your PCV absorbed the damage.
I like it's funny. It's super like funny and charming.
yeah.
Chances of survival in the
Like Opposing Force really surprised me how like funny and charming it was.
Yeah. It's got the I realize that I guess this comes way before Destroy Humans, but it reminds me of the funny stereotypes of the military in that game.
But like
But I
Blue-
guess they got it from here.
Blue Shift is very like it's like stripped down Half-Life, where you have like a really limited gun pool, where you have like three or four weapons, whereas Opposing Force was like, we're gonna make the different side. They add you have so many weapons in Opposing Force you don't have in the base game. You have 3 melee weapons. You have like a bunch new alien weapons, a bunch new military weapons. There's like a sniper rifle. There's like tons of new. There's this rope swinging mechanic that doesn't exist in the base game. They add so much new stuff, and it becomes this like cool experience. I would say like. I'm so glad I played through the original Half-Life just because I got to play Opposing Force, because I love
Right.
Opposing Force. I think Opposing Force is something that... It's a shame that there's no Black Mesa for Opposing Force, because Opposing Force is amazing. It is so
Yeah.
good. It is really, really fun. Just like the whole like experience of playing through the game itself as well. So that was training mode, which is amazing. And then the actual gameplay itself is... Again, we were talking about before, saying it's always cool to see the same day from a different perspective.
Yeah.
I would say it's really important to play training mode in Opposing Force, because there's certain points in the game where you will have to command units, so you will need to get a mechanic to break down a door for you, or you will have to go and get a medic to go and heal a key member to help you through the mission, sort of thing. And then there's just like a couple of grunts that will come with you and shoot people, sort of thing. You can
Yeah,
see like
right.
Half-Life 2 DNA here, because there's like the Rebel phase in Half-Life 2 where you have to combine like command around medics and rebels with guns. It's like, oh my god, they got this from Opposing Force. Like, I've never played Opposing Force before, but now I understand where they got this from.
Yeah, it's interesting to go back. I mean, I've never even really like known about the DLC, I guess.
The expansions. Yeah, so
Expansions,
Gearbox made
yeah.
2, and also for the PS2 version, they had Half-Life Decay. There's a PS2 version of Half-Life 1, by the way,
Right.
called Half-Life Decay, that has it's only on PlayStation 2, and it's the only co-op Half-Life game.
Right, okay.
You play as two
okay.
female scientists in co-op. They have like a specific co-op campaign on the PS2. I've played it briefly around a friend's house, but I would love it on PC. I would love them to add Half-Life 1 to PC. There is a mod right now that has a demo. I think it was in 2021, where someone was remaking the Half-Life Decay levels, Black Mesa style, which looks really, really cool. So I'll be excited to play that mod when it fully comes out. But with these things with Half-Life mods,
In 5 years.
I was playing Black Mesa, the original mod, pre-Zen in like 2012, and then it wasn't until 2020 that I actually played the full game. So
Yeah, I mean, these sort of things take a long time. Like, it's a lot of effort, right? I mean, it's in like their spare time, so it's
so
amazing in
like
a way that it comes out at all.
yeah. So like with the Half-Life 1, it's about 8 to 10 hours, depending on how well you know the game. Then with this expansion, it's like it's not as long as this, about 4 hours. And then I would say like Blue Shift is even shorter. It's like 1 to 2 hours. So like as the expansions go along, they get like shorter and shorter.
Yeah,
But you get to see like because when you see the military in Half-Life 1, they've pretty much come in and they've been told to you need to find Gordon Freeman, and we need no one to know about what happened here. So they just come in and kill all the scientists. So the military are your enemies in the base game, but you get to play as Adrian Shepard, and you realize that there's a separate military force there that's starts attacking you. You're like, what the hell? Because there's the famous ninja ladies from Half-Life 1 that like
yeah.
do somersaults across the screen and shoot you, and there's this whole like
The Black
different
Ops.
military contingency because you work with scientists in opposing force, so you're not there to just immediately murder everyone. But some of the scientists who have met the other military soldiers, they come up to you and go, "Oh, you're just here to kill me, aren't you?" Like it's interesting to see like sort of the horrors from the first game of how the scientists were murdered by the military, and now you are sort of taking the blame despite not personally
Yeah.
being responsible. Although I do like to roleplay and kill all the scientists I can in
Right.
opposing force sometimes.
Makes sense.
You get to see more of like the symbiosis between the head crab and the head crab zombie.
Yeah, I was just thinking
In this
that.
game, do you, like for example, because you think about Half-Life 2, if you shoot a head crab zombie in Half-Life 2 and you don't kill the head crab zombie will jump off and attack you.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
Half-Life 1, if you shoot the body of the if you kill the head crab zombie, he just dies.
Oh.
The head crab doesn't jump off. That was a thing added in like Half-Life 2. So it's like interesting to go back and see these like changes and differences they made.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think it's interesting. Like, yeah,
Oh,
like how.
finally, Fat Barney.
As I was saying, it is interesting to see like the thoughts and like how things come together, right?
Oh, you get a wrench. You get a nut, which is like it's not as good. The crowbar's like clang 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 clang. The wrench. So they add two melee weapons. So the wrench is like a slow, hard hitting melee weapon. And then they have like the combat knife, which is a very quick, lower damage weapon. And then at one point you attach a fucking barnacle to your hand and you use it as like a slingshot. And I'm just like, where? How have I never like seen anything about this game?
Yeah. It's such a
Like,
cool
there's so
idea.
much wild stuff in Opposing Force when I feel like so many people are missing out on this great stuff.
Yeah.
But
I
there's
didn't
just,
even know these existed.
but they're like 20-year-old expansions that there's no modern version of, so not a lot of people are going to play them. It wasn't until I randomly decided to play them because I spun them on a games wheel that I decided to actually sit down and play them.
The added to the games wheel.
Well, it's because I knew one day I would want to play it, and I
So
have.
you at least knew it existed.
Yes.
Whereas I didn't even know that like this could exist, I guess. Or did exist. It's crazy. It's just such a unique
So I
feel.
think there's something coming called Operation Black Mesa, which is a remake of Opposing Force, which I'm excited for, but
Okay.
we do not know when that's coming out. That's being done by Tripmine Studios, not
Okay.
Tripwire Studios.
Not sure why, not sure why.
Yeah. But that's cool to see, and I think there's like, I think Blue Shift is being remade, as like a workshop map in Black Mesa. What the G-Man doing? Blue Shift, Black Mesa workshop. I think they've done a couple of levels because they did the first one in. Yeah, they uploaded the first one on the 14th of March. If there's a collection for it, so I can tell you how many chapters they've done so far. Because I was like, when I was planning to play through Half-Life 1, I was like, should I just play the Blue Shift workshop map or should I play the original first? And I decided to play the original first. And to be fair, it's not that long, so if you've already like gone through the process of playing the original Half-Life 1, you should be like, oh, it shouldn't be too hard to just you know, play through the Blue Shift as well because it's quite short. Oh, you don't have a flashlight in this game? You got night vision because you're in the military.
I feel like I don't know. I say that I feel like the flashlight in the base game was kind of shit. So maybe it is better.
But they play with light a lot more because you have that night vision. Like
Yeah.
and like again, I see night vision. I'm like, oh, you could have night vision in Counter-Strike Source. Like I remember that it's a big thing, and I never knew where that came from. But now I know it was in Opposing Force. That's where they like tested it out.
It's all connected.
And,
yeah.
So I was pushing the N button because the N button is night vision in Counter-Strike Source, but it's F for flashlight because it's not a dedicated button. You don't have a flashlight. Oh, rest in peace, Fat Barney. He's going to touch the electrical grid. Yeah, he did. You do a lot of smashing random boxes. I think boxes have too much health in Half-Life. That was an issue for me. You should be able to just immediately destroy them like you can in Half-Life 2. They learnt from the past. They learnt from the past.
They learn from the best.
But I think I'm going to check out the... Definitely going to check out Half-Life Opposing Force mod when that comes out. It's got a Steam page as well if you want to follow it, because I'm following. Operation Black Mesa on Steam. The workshop mod is just called Black Mesa Blue Shift. If you want to check that out. Yeah, Opposing Force is a really cool game. Oh, there was like... I remember this part, the first time it was like, shit, what the fuck's happening? And then G-Man like lets you out, and I'm like, what the hell is going on? I really love the weapons in Opposing Force. You get like a magnum gun, and you can put like this red dot scope on it, which is really cool. Like it has unique guns, unique human guns, and unique alien guns that are all really cool. Like the infinite ammo gun in Half-Life 1 is like the B gun that is shit, and then there's an actual useful one in Opposing Force. You have like a electric cannon that is cool.
Is this where you got stuck on the lift?
Yeah, so that was a big bug in Opposing Force. It was only in Opposing Force. I don't think it happened in Blue Shift or the base game, but there's a bug where sometimes you can get stuck in an elevator. So I would recommend quick saving before you go on an elevator because I'm stuck again here.
Save scum the elevators.
Well, basically, I think playing through all the Half-Life 1 and all the expansions, I had quick save and quick load bound to a key. Like an easy reachable key, just because I knew how much I was going to have to save because of some of the bullshit in the 20 years of progress that hasn't happened.
To be honest, well, there's still like bullshit in like modern games as well, but I guess there's just more. We should expect more because in older games, right?
Yeah, I cannot recommend Opposing Force enough. Opposing Force is a really, really fucking fun. Like, and then I just want to show you that training mode for Blue Shift. It's just a copy.
Right.
Which is why I wanted to show you it, because I was like, oh, Opposing Force is really cool. I feel like... Okay, so just quickly talk about Blue Shift. It's not that long.
Blue Shift... Resident Evil in a way.
Blue Shift is interesting because I feel like it tries to show the humanity of Black Mesa.
Yeah.
Where you get to see, like, people who are late for work. You get to see, like, the pizza and taco shop that's at Black Mesa. Like, you get to see the fat guard trying to break into the vending machine while everything's going to shit. Because these games, they're not parallel with the base game. So, in Opposing Force, there's this really cool boss fight at the end. And I think you coming into Black Mesa is, like, halfway through the Resonant Cascade event. So it's, like, halfway through the game.
Yeah.
Because Opposing Force is literally hunt down the Freeman. If I'm going to make that reference. See, they're playing an arcade machine. There's a dry cleaner in Black Mesa. You get to see the pizza and taco shop up here, I think. Like, it's just the small little Tesla's tacos and Big Tony's pizza. These
I
like the
don't
small
remember a pizza
touches.
place.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, no, it's cool. I can't believe this guy though. Like, what the hell? Can you not just wait?
I was like, why couldn't they just build it lower or build this
Yeah.
higher? But you know, that's world building, I guess.
Yeah.
But in this one, you play as Barney Calhoun, who, as longtime fans will know from Half-Life 2. It's more of a character there.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, if you just play Half-Life 1, you'll have no idea who Barney Calhoun is. He's not a
Right,
character in
right.
Half-Life 1. In the same way that you'll have no idea who Adrian Shepard is if you've just played... If you haven't played Opposing Force, you'll have no idea who Adrian Shepard is.
Right, right.
But some of the things I like about Blue Shift... I mean, I think Opposing Force is my favourite piece of Half-Life 1 work. Just overall. But I do appreciate Blue Shift because, although it's shorter, it's more concise, so it means there's less like pain points.
Yeah.
It's far less buggy than Opposing Force. I think Opposing Force was the buggiest one of all the ones I played. But it wasn't too bad. And also,
it kind of reminds me
what
of
did
like a
Gordon
Resident Evil
Freeman
game.
doing?
Yeah.
As you remember, I pointed out, I said that's the actual Barney Calhoun because now you can see that that's Gordon Freeman over there coming into Black Mesa.
Then here you get off and start banging on the door.
I mean, Opposing Forces ending's way cooler than Blue Shift because the ending of Opposing Force, you're fighting like I don't know if I was streaming it to you, or maybe streaming it to Michael.
Yeah, I was watching.
You're fighting like this giant monster with these lasers that's coming through the Nether portal, and then
Yeah.
the ending of Blue Shift is basically in Blue Shift you go and find a scientist. You then go to Zen briefly, in both games actually, and then you basically teleport a bunch of scientists while fending off a couple of aliens and a couple of soldiers, and then you just drive away in a car. That's the ending to Blue Shift.
Right. What?
Yeah.
Okay. I did not see that. I'm glad I was staying around for the good ending.
But I do like,
I
whereas
started this for a lot.
with Opposing Force, you get a massive arsenal of guns. Blue Shift keeps it concise. You have like your security guard pistol. You eventually get a shotgun.
It's more grounded.
Yeah, and I kind of like that it has a more concise gun pool.
Which reminds me way more of like Resident Evil 4.
Right.
I don't know why.
Yeah, Blue Shift's the Resident Evil 4 of games. You love to see it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, one thing I wanted to point out before I end. If you shoot like the guards or scientists, you get like fired, I think it is. Waiting. It says like, because you're not supposed to shoot them because you're Barney Calhoun.
Right.
If you kill anyone in the training mode for Opposing Force, it says awaiting court-martial. I thought that was such a nice little touch. But even though these games are 20 years old, there is some there's charm to them. I do really like these games.
I really like the start of this one because like there's like problems and it's like they're like criticizing other sections of Black Mesa.
Go to some. You get a gun pretty early on before you're fighting anything. There's a lot of crawling around in sewers in Blue Shift. You're a security guard, but you're also the maintenance guy. Apparently, they need you to go and fix something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you could wait for the problem to subside, but
Tangerine Half-Life. I've finally played the original Half-Life and all the expansions, and I can say I had a fun time. There's pain points, and it's not going to be for everyone, but there is a certain charm to the original Half-Life games, and I think there is something for someone.
Checking guides, weren't there? If I remember correctly.
Checking guys?
Guides.
Oh, checking. Yes. Yeah.
Because like, you just like, how the hell do you like fix this. And so, oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So I would say with like, I had a better idea of like parts of. Oh, that was a bug with Blue Shift. Sometimes when you reloaded, you'd be spam firing your gun. That's a bug.
Yeah.
I didn't, because I played Black Mesa twice. There wasn't like too much with Half-Life 1. There was a little bit that I needed help with, but with like opposing force and Blue Shift, old game design, no maps, no like direction on where you have to go. I did have to do a little bit of like checking just to make sure I hadn't bugged out. I think at one point, I had to check a guide in opposing force because the game literally bugged out where it was constantly spam killing me on the place I needed to go, and it wasn't until I reloaded previous save that it didn't bug out that time. So like with these games you might need to read a guide just to make sure the game isn't broken.
Yeah.
But apart from that, they are still fun games to play, so
Yeah.
definitely check them out if you feel like you want to play some gaming classics, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.